Hello, welcome to Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and today is the Age of Sigmar Stats Centre, where I look at the results from the Age of Sigmar events that have happened this weekend, 5-round events, and we look at, that normally happen over 2 days, and we're going to look at them, which is really fun. We're going to look at a massive event in England called War in the Heartlands, as well as the event that Games Workshop were running over in the USA, and a bunch of other events from the USA as well. We have, and shout out to Warhammer Rob for helping me collate this information, 388 players playing across the world this video. We've got England, USA, Australia, Germany, Portugal as well, which is really fun. In addition, there was also a really big team event happening in Denmark this weekend, so shout out to all the players playing there, and I hope they had a really good time. And of course, if you like this show and you like supporting the show, then you can always support us on Patreon, which would be appreciated loads. Okay, let's go on with the video. The first event that we're going to be looking at today is the War in the Heartlands Act 3. This is an incredible event run every year in Leicester by Liam and Mark. It's just really, really good. And Tom, I think Tom still helps out with it. It's really cool, and it sells out every year. If you get the chance to go next year, please do check it out. It's got a Twitter page, War in the Heartlands. Twitter probably won't exist by next year, but still, that's where it is for now. And it's a wonderful event. At 100 people, it's consistently one of the biggest Age of Sigmar events that we have in the UK every year. Shout out to other events such as Brotherhood, organised by Chris Tomlin, which is a team event, which is really good, and pretty much any event that Mark Wilson runs as well, which are all around. Also, as I've had a lot of confirmation in the chat that the food at this event was excellent, which is very, very rare. Very rare. So shout out to the food. I think it was curry like last year, but I'm not sure. Okay, so we've got 3 5-0s because there's such a huge event as 100 people, so they've got 3 5-0s, which is fine. The other version of this, you could make them play 18 rounds, but instead they just got 3 5-0s, which is wonderful. So the 3 winners are Max Barton, Dan Bradshaw, and Seb Donnelly. I think Dan won the event last year, so he's still in that winners bracket, so congratulations to him. Max and Dan both on Team England, and I think this is Seb's ever first 5-0 at like a major event, and so Seb should be super chuffed with this. I know he will be. He doesn't necessarily consider himself to be like that tier of player, so he definitely should be all over the moon about this. If we talk about what's in the list, then most of them aren't a surprise, with Dan's being kind of the interesting one of the 3. Max was running this same list that we've seen played quite a lot now in the Maggotkin of Nurgle Befouling Host. This is the one that allows you to do a bunch of summoning, or extra summoning, effectively. And then he's got a Great Unclean one, the Glotkin, Orgot's Demon Spew, and then Morbid X Twiceborn. Sometimes you see the other version of this where you see the Glotkin and you see 3 Maggoth Lords. This way, though, because you don't have a name character, that means you do get the opportunity to take the Nurgling Infestation command trait, but most importantly, in my opinion, the artifact, the Witherstave, which means you're going to be doing more mortal wounds to units in range, which is good. Glotkin has got a really fun ability. Shout out to Terry for teaching me this in specifics. But if you get within 18 inches of the Glotkin, if you get within 12 inches of the Glotkin with any unit, then the Glotkin can make any one of his units wholly within 18 inches countercharge. You would think it would be to charge the unit that got within 12, but that's not true. So even though you can have a unit really far away, you can make a unit countercharge at that unit. So it's a bit confusing to look at on the tabletop, and it's very hard to manage, and it's very, very effective. And when you do charge them in, you can charge in any of those 4, obviously, great monsters, Great Unclean One, Orgot's, and Morbid X. And then you've also got the Plague Bearers, which are also a problem as well, because when you do charge them in, they're basically going to be blocking up your charges. And, in addition, because of the summoning, they're able to summon a Slippity Blip-Blop. A Sloppity Bar Piper, and then he can stop Parlins. So it's kind of a countercharge, movement blocking army, all orientated around the Glotkin, and having a bunch of very difficult to kill and very survivable big monsters. But shout out to Max, he should be super chuffed with that. Over for Seb's list, we'll talk about that first. Seb was running a Futhwan list with a Tidecaster, Lotan, and then just all the Alapexes and the Leviathan. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Alapexes, which obviously they've got 4 shots at 24 inches and they move 14 with an effective 28-inch range. 38-inch range, sorry. 38-inch range, and then they're like 4 shots, and then it's Rend 1 D3 damage. And when you're doing that times 9, so that's nearly 40 shots, 36 shots, and the Leviathan is also doing another 8 shots. So you've got 44 shots doing D3 damage, and then if you want, you could do some combat. It's very, very, very good, in my personal opinion. And then Dan's list, while not wildly different to what we've seen previously for Starborn lists, has changed it up a little bit, which I think is great. So he's running Starborn, Fangs of Sotek, Skink Oracle on Troglodyte, Skink Starseer, Skink Star Priest, Lord Croak, and a Saurus Astaroth Bannerbearer. Then he's got a Saurus Guard, a unit of 20 Saurus Warriors, and then the Malevolent Maelstrom and Aether Void Pendulum. The way in which this is different, though, is Dan's dropped the regular slan that you see people take, and the regular slan normally does two things. One, it allows you to deep strike a unit outside of 7 inches, and also, in addition, what he does is every time you cast a spell, unbind a spell, or whatever with that slan, then he's going to generate 2 Celestial Core points, which is like the summoning mechanic that you get for Seraphon instead of 1. And he's dropped him in lieu of taking a unit of 20 Saurus Warriors, which is something a little bit different to what you normally see. So he's gone for a little bit more board control in this situation, instead of just having everything sat in a castle at the back. Nice little change up. And we've seen Seraphon not doing it quite as well as possible. Maybe also, though, maybe there's been a drop in OBR representation. We haven't seen OBR as much as we did see previously. And maybe the drop in non-Myriad is really helping lift these armies up. Either way, Dan's a great player, as is Max. And then Seb, also a great player, but this is his first time he's done well. I'm super happy for him, and I'm glad he's well. 4 in a draw, which I think might be one of Baz's best results. Shout out to Baz, Norman Jr. of the Warrior Lodge. He's our only 4 in a draw in this bracket, so slightly higher than a 4-1. He's got a Tidecaster and Lotan in his list. Then he's got Leviathan and 9 Alapexes. Turns out that this is a great list. Great list that's going to get nuked from orbit, I imagine. But they have been able to sell a lot of Alapexes, which is great. Well done to him. Well done, Baz. Looking at the 4-1s, we've got a veritable who's, a smorgasbord of gentlemen and ladies and gentlemen. In the 4-1, we've got Craig Namvar, running Big War. Christian Noobs with Soulblight Gravelords. The incredible Rob Morris with a Shalaxi Hedonites to Slanesh 4-1. We'll talk about that in a sec. Kieran Bailey, wonderful, with a Big War. Jack Armstrong with a Stormcast Eternals list with Annihilators. Mark Saunders with his Blades of Corn, Tom Marshall with his Maggotkin of Nurgle, William Holly, who lost in the final game to his teammate Seb in a team-lit civil war, with him losing and only getting the 4-1, but him running KO with Frigates. Tom Patton on the Submarine with Gargants, Kieran Alander with trying a version of the Broken Skaven list, Dan Wright with Maggotkin of Nurgle, and I'm going to just shout out Jack Williams from Team Bash. Now, Jack didn't go 4-1, but I want to shout out Jack because Jack's 16. Yeah, he went to a big 100-person event. He's played a couple of my events before, but he's 16 years old. He's out there. He's playing. He reminds me a lot of like young Chris Caves. It reminds me a lot of Solomon over from Ireland. Both great young players doing super well. And his friend Vinny came to an event here the other day, and Vinny took an event out. So just really great, just super great people. Okay, so let's look at the list, shall we? So our Big War, one of our Big War lists is Gobsprak, Uruk Weirdnob, Mega Boss, Uruk Warchanter, Brutes, Gore Grunters. Now, Big War, and I'm going to talk about Big War a couple of times over the course of today. The simple thing with Big War is they changed 2 different battle tactics for 2 different armies, and Big War is the coalescing of those 2 armies into one. So the ability to score points is very easy for Big War when it comes to the secondary, so which is battle tactics. So the primary, which is holding objectives, just requires them to have lots of units on the board and do some damage. And they can do that really well, obviously, with Brutes, Gore Grunters, all getting +1 damage from War Chanters. Mega Boss and Maw Crusher is obviously a big fighty character. And then one of the things that they do really well is obviously shutting down magic, thanks to Gobsprak, which is super easy. Okay, Soulblight Gravelords. We've got a Vampire Lord, Necromancer, Manfred, White King on Skeletal Steed, King Morlach Velmorn and his host, 30 skeletons, 2 units of 3 Fellbats, a Pendulum, 10 Black Knights, 5 Black Knights in the list. Now, the Black Knights obviously are really great for pinning, but also for charging and doing a lot of damage. Fellbats are just your basic battle line, and your Death Rattle Skeletons for holding objectives, obviously, because they can they can heal units back into them at the beginning of their turn. Which is really good. And then you've obviously got Manfred, who's great in combat. But the real trick for Soulblight Gravelords, and I don't talk about it enough, same way when you look at a big war army. When you look at a big war army, it's not necessarily the units, although they are doing great stuff. It's not necessarily the units that are helping them score all the points to win. Soulblight Gravelord's case, whichever version of Soulblight Gravelords you're seeing, is their ability to return units onto objectives you weren't really expecting and being able to grab points all the time. It means your army has to play more spread out to try to screen out what are board-wide threats for being able to grab objectives from units that are coming back at half strength, and they do that in all of the turns. It's quite annoying, it's quite difficult, and it means scoring the primary is a little harder than you necessarily think going into those matches. So that's kind of what I think. And there are some standout units. Manfred's obviously stand out, quite obviously. Black Knights are great as well. Then we got Heathen Knights of Slaanesh. Now this is crazy. We got Shalaxi Hellbane, a Keeper of Secrets, a Contorted Epitome, and an Infernal Raptress. 2 units of Bliss Barbs, a unit of Seekers, and then a unit of Bliss Barb Seekers, and a unit of Mimradesh Painbringers. So, this is a toughie, because I know Rob. Rob plays a lot at my events here in the UK, and he's been pushing around Slaanesh a lot, and he's just been practicing time and again, and he hasn't really taken his foot off the gas when it comes to things like the Keeper of Secrets or Shalaxi. So I think this really just is a representation of someone having a lot of reps in with a specific army, because he knows what he's doing. Also, just good though. Pretty crazy that he's done so well with it. Shalaxi, I just don't rate at all. I don't know how Shalaxi's done so well. Keeper of Secrets is really good, because obviously you get to pile in and attack twice. And then you need that for Euphoric Killers, which is how you generate and scale points for your army, especially summoning points with the depravity points. So you would think that the Keeper of Secrets combo for being able to attack twice, which is the only source of it in the army, would work, is good. I've just never seen it be good enough, but apparently it is, and he's done really well with it. So I just think this is just so good. And Rob should be really proud of himself, so well done. We have another big wild list with a Swampcaller Shaman on Potgrot, a Wargard Prophet, Gobsprak, an Uruk Megaboss on foot with the Destroyer artifact, an Uruk Warchanter, and Swamp Boss Scumdrek. Some Gut Rippers, some Brutes, a unit of 10, a unit of Hobgrot Slitters, some Brute Ragers, and Manskewer Bolt Boys. So, very much like I said before, you've just got a lot of damage. Manskewer Bolt Boys doing some shooting, Ragers, very, very big threat range, really, for what looks like a very small frontage unit. Big threat range, big damage, and then all the other key pieces for helping that army work really well. And this one's got the Wargard Prophet in, which is close to broken, to be honest. Our Stormcast Eternals Signs of the Storm list has got 3 units of Night Judicator with Gryphounds, a Lord Imperator, Celestant Prime, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of Annihilators, and a unit of Vanguard Raptors, Long Strike Crossbows. So this just does an outrageous amount of mortal wounds at range. Before anyone in the chat starts shouting at me that, of course, Evocators and Dracolines are better, this I don't think is ever likely to be a 5-0 list. I think this is always close to a 4-1, 5-0 list, but is very singular in what it does. Does a lot of mortal wounds at range that you can't stop in any way, and then it backs it up with a ton of shooting from the Night Judicators, and then the Annihilators drop down and do even more shooting. Your major problem is board presence and units that have got enough wounds to sink all of that damage you're going to do at range. That's going to be your main problem. Celestant Prime maybe is something to try and stop that and bring that back. But Celestant Prime will die just as much as anything. Thank you to Sedlum in the chat for donating 3 gift subs. That's great. Blades of Corn, Reapers of Vengeance, got Scarbrand, Bloodthirster and Sense of Rage, a Bloodmaster, Bloodthirster and Fet Fury, and a Slaughter Priest. Fleshhounds, Blood Reavers, Fleshhounds, Bloodletters. A big unit of 20 Bloodletters. Hexgorger Skulls and Wrath Axe. Hexgorger Skulls, I don't think you can leave home without it if you're playing with Khorne. Ability to shut down enemy wizards is so incredibly good. Then you've just got the classic combo that we see here. Bloodthirster and Fetid Fury, which is obviously helps units move across the board faster and charge in easier, while also being a priest thanks to the Firebrand command trait and the artifact to power Argath. The King of Blades, shutting down ward saves, is the power combo. Everything else is really just meat for the grinder, with the exception of the other threat in this army, which is the Bloodletters and the Bloodthirster and Sensant Rage, which is the big boom thirster. So you love to see it. So congratulations there. Megkin Nurgle, Blobe, Morbidex, Orgots, Rotbringer Sorcerer, and the Glotkin, and then 3 units of Plague Bearers. Exactly what I talked about before. Summon Sloppy Barpiper, countercharge, don't let people play the game, score some points, and poop on some objectives. Kharadron Overlords are playing Barak Zon. This is Will, shout out to Will, with an Arcanaut Admiral, an Etheric Navigator, an Engine Master with Engine Harness, 2 units of 6 Engine Riggers, a unit of Arcanaut Company, and then 2 units of Arcanaut Frigate. I've said this before and I'll say this again, this is the best version of KO, especially if you then put Gotrek in the list, which is awesome. So Gotrek's going to be able to do the thing which Kharadron Overlords struggle with most, which is grabbing the primary objective. They obviously have got incredibly easy battle tactics. Get in a boat, get out of a boat, dance on a boat, like be sick on a boat. Any of those things. Like, those are all the battle tactics, I think. I don't think there are any more. That's basically what they are. Boats and hoes. This is what it is. But the frigates also, because they're combat units, which go in line with the engine riggers, which also can be able to get out and fight at the same time, means that you are having even more primary advantage here, which I think is really good. So Gotrek goes and holds objectives, fights on objectives, and generally creates a no-go zone until he's dealt with. And then the frigates also can just like slam into a certain section of the board, which is really good as well. I think it's my favourite build, 100%, and I really like the frigate KO. I think it's very, very active. Okay, Sons of Behemoth take a tribe with a Kraken Eater, Kragnos, and King Brod. And then 2 Man-Crusher Gargants. Gargants stand on objectives. This is an army that stands on objectives, and it does big charges. Congratulations there. And then Skaven. Okay, we're going to talk about this more later. This is a Grey Seer on Screaming Bell, 2 of those. A Grey Seer on foot. Plague Priest on Plague Furnace, a Skabic Plague Seeker, and then the Plague Priest. Skabic is one of the key parts to how this list works, because you effectively can shut down units being able to score objectives, because you can claim it as yours until you deal with Skabic. And then everything else is just there for flavour. 3 units of 20 clan rats, and then the big hitters in this army, 15 plague sensor bearers and 10 plague sensor bearers. Both of those are going to do outrageous damage to the enemy. And then a warp grinder for popping one of those units out of the ground, and a rattling gun, which is great. Kieran's a great player. He's one of my favourite players to talk lists with. He's very techy. He likes creating these weird, fun lists. This is very much similar to the Flesh Eater Courts list that we saw played before he got FAQ'd, in that it was old mechanics that didn't really work in the new iteration of the game and were broken, but Games Workshop hadn't seen through that loophole. Similar thing with Skaven. Because it was a copy and paste of the 2nd edition book into the 3rd edition book, there's some broken bits in there which they didn't really understand, especially when they then FAQ'd it in post. You are going to see me talking about Skaven more over the next few weeks. Understand that it's 100% going to get FAQ'd and needs to, because it's pretty janky, which is, just not fun really. Okay, so but Kieran's fun. Just throw that out there. Right, Magakin and Nurgle, Orgots, Morbidex, the Glotkin, Great and Clean One, 3 units of 10 Plague Bearers. I know you're going to be like, Rob, you've read that out before. I'll probably read it out again next week as well, okay? But well done to them. And then finally, Young Jack, 16 years old, with his Flesh Eater Courts. He's got an Abhorrent Arc Regent. He's got 2 of those. Abhorrent Royal Ghoul... an Abhorrent Ghoul King on Royal Terrorgeist, Crypt Haunter Courtier, and then 9 Crypt Horrors, 3 Crypt Flares, 2 units of 10 Crypt Ghouls, and the Chalice of Ushran. Then he's finally got that unit of 20 Beast Flayers. Now, the key element for how Flesh Eater Courts work, well, as they work now, obviously a new book soon, what incredible models, is being able to fight twice. And that's a command ability. So you need the Royal Beast Flayers, which shut down the roar that you're going to get from enemy units. So that will stop the roar so that you can still do the command ability, which is fight twice. And then it's all about stacking attacks, either on a unit of Crypt Horrors or to stack a bunch of attacks on the Abhorrent Ghoul King Royal Terrorgeist, and then go ham, as they say, and beat a bunch of stuff up. That's everything from War in the Heartlands. Not really anything that's particularly new. There's a lot of stuff that's on trend at the minute. Nurgle, as an example, are very much on trend, which I think is very interesting. Sharks, very on trend at the minute, as is. We've already started to see Skaven over the past few weeks. We're going to see Skaven more in the future until it gets nerfed. And then I think that's about it from the kind of stuff that we've seen. KO will play on how KO play, which is good. Khorne playing how Khorne play, which is really good as well. No OBR though. 1 Soulblight Gravelords. I think that's something to talk about. Anyway, hope everyone had a great... I know everyone had a great time. So well done to the TOs for running a great event. Our next event that we're going to talk about is the Warhammer Age of Sigmar World Championships of Warhammer. Which is it's like a pyramid scheme that they do where they crowdsource money from local communities and run their own event from it, which is fun. Anyway, so there was some amount of players. I don't know. In fact, there were 88 players at this event. It is a double elimination bracket. A double elimination bracket. So I do have a picture somewhere of what it looks like. So after you've played 5 rounds of Warhammer, if you did well in your group, you got into a top 8. And then if you didn't do quite as well in your group, you then went into a redemption top 8, which is a knockout system. And then you played, it seems, for a million years until you got to the final, where we ended up with a winner, is the simple answer. Now, I'm going to shout out the winner, Nicolas Tasson, because Spoonie, shout out to Spoon, Vive la France, because he had an amazing run with his Lumineth Realm Lord's army, and most importantly, his run was amazing. After he'd played 5 games of Warhammer over 2 days, he then had to proceed to play another 7 games of Warhammer over another 2 days. So already the mental and physical toll that would take on someone is astronomical, and also wildly disrespectful of Games Workshop to put players through. However, Nicholas did really well himself and smashed it, and had, in my personal opinion, one of the toughest runs you could probably have in competitive Age of Sigmar. First up, he had to play the Meat King himself, Carson Whitlock from Canada, who did everyone in Canada proud and all Ogre fans by doing so well and getting through into the top cut. Then he had to play maybe one of the most competent players in all the world, and definitely one of the most practiced, and a member of the current world champion Danish team, Christopher Carmoose, with his OCR Bone Reapers. That's another tough match. Then he had to play, again, the incredibly well-known and also killer Ronya with Soulblight Gravelords, which is another tough match. Then had to play the legendary and incredibly well-practiced Phil Marshall with Gloomspite Gitz. Phil also was suffering a little bit from some food poisoning, but I'm not going to hold that against... I'm not going to, Nicholas did really well, and Nicholas played the game, so well done to him. And he's probably favoured in that matchup anyway for his ability to shut down all the additional moves for the squigs. So then he goes into the final, and he has to play another 2 games. Well, he has to play 1 game, so he has to play Tom Maudsley with his Skaven, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then he has to, if he beats Tom, he has to play Tom again, because it's something called a double elimination, which is, I understand it, because I don't know much about this. I think it's like a torture device used for no other reason than just to punish those players for having brought Age of Sigmar armies to an event. So there we go. So after that punishing schedule, his final game taking more than 4 hours, his first game against Tom taking another 3. So that's 7.5 hours for just 2 games of Warhammer. Incredible stuff, and Nicholas should be super proud. So let's just take a look at his list. He's running the Lumineth Realm Lords in Zytrek with a Scenari Caligrave, a Cathalar, Teclis, and then the Light of Altharion. Then 10 Wardens, 5 Blade Lords, 5 Dawn Riders, Malevolent Maelstrom, Spell Portal, Aether Void Pendulum, and then 2 units more of 5 Dawn Riders. So it's a fairly unconventional list in that it features a bunch of Dawn Riders and no Sentinels. But the thing that I think is worth talking about, obviously, and as will always be true, is that Teclis and Searing White Light is obviously phenomenal. That's all I got to say. He also had the Light of Altharion in there, which has obviously been such a hot pick ever since Worlds. Who's a great combat melee duelist. Think of him as a mini Gotrek. Teclis also has got all of the utility that many casters would love to take. For example, the ability to make command points cost more, shutting down movement, because he's basically also a Be'lakor via spells, which is good. As is the Cathalar. You have double Be'lakor in this list via spells, but instead of Be'lakor being for 1 turn, you can cast that every single turn from 2 different characters, which is really powerful. So shutting down enemy units is very, very effective, especially if you do it every time. Then Teclis can do all of that damage via Searing White Light. And then it's just on the other units to just pick objectives up where they can. Umbral Spell Portal for, again, using Searing White Light at range, Malevolent Maelstrom for doing AoE mortal wound damage, and Aether Void Pendulum for doing more mortal wounds, which is cool. Then finally, and that's it, just an amazing play. And he played some of the best players in the world, and he should be super chuffed with himself. A special congratulations to Spoon in that regard. Sad for Tom. Tom's an excellent player. Tom came in second place with his Skaven, running Greyseer and Screaming Bell. Plague Priest on Plague Furnace, Greyseer and Screaming Bell, Greyseer and Screaming Bell. Plague Priest, Scabic Plague Seeker, 2 units of 20 Clan Rats, and then 2 units of 15 Plague Bearers. And then the Soul Scream Bridge in here as well. There's lots to say about how this list works. Most importantly, the Greyseers on Screaming Bell, if you think of them as Ogre Stonehorns with a better save that's more survivable, but they only cost 220 points, and they can summon a Vermin Lord, which costs 300 points from each one. that gives you some indication of kind of how cooked that version of the models are and that list is. Add on to that you're able to, of course, cast Fight on Death, which is called Death Frenzy in this list, on a unit of Plague Sensor Bearers, which, as I talked about earlier, do a lot of damage in melee. And then if you hit them back, because they have a very weak save, they're going to do even more damage. It's a really good way of just ensuring the opponent is going to lose a lot of models, which is very, very good. And that's it. That's how the list works. It's summon a lot of stuff, body block with these big screaming bells, and then charge in. And then there's some real tech. If you haven't read it, you should go and read Scabic Plague Seeker's War Scroll, and also the War Scroll of his Plague Pack. Effectively, they can make it so you can't contest objectives until you've got to that unit. And if you don't have shooting or even range magic, it's going to be really tough to deal with. So those are the two players at that event. Both matches that these two players played were streamed on French Wargaming Twitch, if you want to go check it out. They do try really hard to do the coverage, at least for the two final matches, in French and English, which is very much appreciated, especially as Games Workshop did such an incredibly piss-poor job of representing Age of Sigmar with a group of 40k players who didn't know how to stream Age of Sigmar, which I felt was really embarrassing. And I want to also shout out Thibaut as well, from Team Belgium, who jumped on the stream and streamed for close to 8 hours, having played 3 full days of Warhammer. He streamed for 8 hours and brought us live Age of Sigmar coverage in both English and French. And again, he is a wonderful person. Well done to Thibaut for helping bring it in. So that's really good. So go check out those games if you want to go check them out. The next event we're going to cover is The Boys GT Rochester, where we had in New York City 80 players playing, which is wicked for Du Bois. I want to shout out one person in particular, Mr. Joe Pagano, because it was his birthday that weekend. Got a lot of love to give that guy, so shout out to him. This event was organised by Joshua Keel. Congratulations to him. And we had 3 5-0s from this event as well, because it was a large event. Mr. Jordan Duncan, it says here, of the Tough Crowd, but don't forget he's also got a wonderful YouTube channel called Season of War, where you can go and watch him play wonderful bat reps against some other great people, not Baal. Baal sucks. Baal is awful. Anyway, we also had Basil in Ferrara, and Basil, no offense, Basil, you're perfect. Basil's first ever 5-0. Now, Basil's been playing Seraphon for so long, he was on Lustria Online in Warhammer Fantasy Battle Days. He's OG, is how he is, and he's got his big first 5-0, and I'm so happy for him. And then we've got Derek Perham of the Miscasters Anonymous. I don't think I know Derek, but loads of love to Derek as well. He's also running Seraphon. Okay, Jordan, let's go. After his swim meet, Jordan was running his Inet Deepkin Morphan army, and he was running the Keelan King, the obvious Slap King as we know him, with the Unstoppable Fury command trait and Void Chill Darkness mount trait, which means he's -1 to wound or hit. I forget which one. I think it's -1 to wound. But most importantly, he gets loads of extra attacks on the Keelan King. A Soul Render and a Lotan. And then, very different to lists we've seen previously, he had 3 units of Reavers, a unit of Thralls, and then 2 Ishlin Guard, which is amazing. You do not normally see most of these units, and then an Achillean Leviathan. Now, Leviathan obviously gives that +1 save out to all the units around it, and on turn 1, an Inet Deepkin army is in cover. So they have +2 to the save on the first turn. Most people make a mistake in trying to Alpha Strike an Idneth army early, and you shouldn't. The Reavers have really good shooting, and he did have 30 of them, so that's 60 shots. They're going to open up some lines. And then he's got the Ishlin Guard and the Thralls to go in as well. But this is very interesting, because it doesn't really have like a big punch unit. It just does a bunch of different stuff, which I think is interesting. So, this is good. It's just an MSU, multiple small units army. With lots of shooting, fighting, combined arms. That big Leviathan has got some good shooting as well. It's good in combat. Very, very survivable. And well done to Jordan for running quite a unique list. He's done really well there. In second place, well, not second place, also on a 5-0, Basil with Seraphon. It's running Skink Starseer with Blizzard. Slan Stunamaster. Lord Croak, Lesloth Banner Bearer, and a Skink Star Priest. Then 2 units of Raptidon Chargers, a unit of Skinks, and then a unit of 6 Ripidactyl Riders, Pendulum, Gravetide, and then Malevolent Maelstrom. Now, this is pretty cool because I have not seen Ripidactyls in a list in a very long time. And Basil has been someone who runs a lot of Seraphon when he can. Switching up to take some Rippers is really interesting. Very much like we saw with Dan over in the UK. Having some extra units is fun. Other than that, the list works as we expect it to work, with the Ashloth Bannerbearer increasing the spell ranges for Croak, and then the Slan Starmaster with the Lord of Celestial Resonance and the Spacefolder Stave, generating extra command points and also helping teleports out. Skink Starseer with a Blizzard to blow things away, and the Raptor John Chargers for go and grab objectives. And then there's a Saurus Guard for bodyguarding units. So he should be super chuffed with himself. Well done to Basil. Got loads of love. Then our other 5-0, Derek with his Seraphon, is not too dissimilar. Seraphon with Starborn, Starseer, Star Priest, Croak, Slan Starmaster, Ashloth Bannerbearer, then a unit of 10 Raptidon Chargers, some Saurus Warriors, Saurus Guard, and a Bastillon with Arca Sotek, Pendulum, and Suffocating Gravetide. The real question is, with OBR going away, is this an increase in the popularity of Seraphon, knowing that they can finally put their models on the board and they're not going to get all the spell ignore that has been coming out of OCR Bone Reapers previously? Interesting. Anyway, those are the 5-0s. Looking at the 4-1 bracket, we've got another smorgasbord of legends and heroes. Owen Jackson on the 4-1 with Beasts of Chaos. Eric Denhoff with the Daughters of Cain, Marathian Some Snakes build. Jean-Francois Normand with his Disciples of Tzeentch, Guild of Summoners. Ridge Hanna, again from the Tough Crowd, but also Seasons of War, with Gloomspite, Gitz, Jaws of Mork. Sam Gould with Seraphon, Kotal's Claw, and maybe the very best way of ever scoring a Grand Strat you've ever seen. We'll talk about that in a minute. Shout out to Risa Wagner with the Monster Trucks, only losing in the final. Teresa from Tough Crowd, only losing in the final. Amazing stuff. Tom Ling, one of my favourite people ever. Maggokin and Nurgle, Fouling Host. Barton Kennelly changing the script with Khorne. Anthony Trudnelli fighting raccoons and shooting Storm Fiends. Amazing list. And then Levan Shirshavanava, got that wrong, with his Gloomspite, Gitz, Glogs, Mega Mob. And then Josh Barron with his really cool Slaves to Darkness list, actually. That's what he's got. So let's talk through the list, shall we? The Beast of Chaos list, run by Owen, was in Dark Walkers, which is super important because obviously you can bring units off the board. Great Bray Shaman as the general instead of a Doomball as a general. Beast of Chaos Zangor Shaman and a Doomball. The Shaman's got Merciless Blizzard. The Bray Shaman's job mainly is to give Owen Spellcasting Savant, which is 3 victory points, and hide him in a corner. 2 units of 10 Ungor, a unit of 30 Ungor Raiders, and a unit of 10 Ungor. Now, normally you see those Ungor Raiders taken as individual 10s, but obviously Owen decided to pump that up, which is really fun. And then 2 units of 6 Bulgor, and again, you normally see the Doomball as the general, but those 2 units of 6 Bulgor instead of having something like Be'lakor in, to drop down and attack the enemy, which is fun as well. So instead of a big unit of 9, just committing with a unit of 6, which is very, very cool. And then the Pendulum in the list as well. Thank you to a bunch of O's in the chat for subscribing. Right, we've got a Daughters of Cain Calibron list with Marathi, obviously, a Melusite Ironscale, and then Stithel the Shadestalker, and then it's 2 units of Fighty Snakes and a unit of Bow Snakes, which is, as you can imagine, shooty shoots, fighty fights. That's how it works with Marathi in the list. And then the Disciples in each list has got a Curseling. It's in Guild of Summoners, so you're going to be summoning loads of Lords of Change. Curseling, Changecaster, and Magister, and the Zangor Shaman, with Be'lakor in the list as well. And then, importantly, please don't forget that he's taken an upgrade, so he's got 2 spells on each one of his wizards, which is fun as well. 2 units of 10 Karak Acolytes, unit of 10 Pink Horrors, and then 6 Zangor Enlightened with a Malevolent Maelstrom, Umbral Spell Portal, and Tome of Eyes. A lot of how these lists work is to cast as many spells as possible, to summon more Lords of Change, and to ramp up that summoning pool that also does damage at range as well. And Tzeentch as a castle build has definitely got a lot better recently, thanks to things like Blizzard being far more effective, which is very good for what is a very traditional castle army. The Gitz list has got Scragrot Madcap Shaman, 20 Stabbers which can control objectives from 9 inches away, which is very good, 36 Squig Herd, and 2 units of 10 Boingrot Bounders. And then the Sportsplat Fanatics, Gobblepalooza, and Sneaky Snufflers. These are definitely some of the strongest units that you can get inside Gitz. Moonclan Stabbers are very good in being able to control where your opponent needs to go to stop you from scoring objectives. Squig Herd and also Boingrot Bounders are going to smash stuff. And something needs to be talked about. And then Sports Platter Fanatics are very good inside for adding extra attacks. Gobblepalooza for buffing units, and Sneaky Snufflers for buffing units as well. Our Seraphon list is in Coalesced, and this is Sam Gould's list. He's got Celestin Prime, Lord Croak, Saurus Astaroth Bannerbearer, 20 Saurus Warriors, 6 Lancers, 5 Guard, 10 Skinks, and then Suffocating Gravetide. And the thing that you need to remember about this excellent little list is that it's in Coalesce, so it's reducing the damage down by 1 to a minimum of 1. So this eschews all of the summoning that you get for the other version of Seraphon. Instead, makes these units of Saurus Warriors and Agrodon Lancers much more survivable. However, Croak is still an amazing AoE mortal wound damage piece at 410 points, as well as a good anti-caster. And so he's very effective still to have in this list, and I'm unsurprised that we're seeing more and more Croak inside of coalesced armies. However, my favourite trick from this whole army belonging to Sam is that he uses his Lord Croak to get him the Slaughter of Sorcery Grand Strat, which is where you've killed every wizard on the field. And what he does is he teleports his own Croak, which then can't be set up, and then he just kills himself. Just amazing. Amazing little tech. So well done, so that's perfect, Sam. Teresa with her Ogre Mortarized Boldhead army as a Huskguard on Thundertusk, a Huskguard on Stonehorn, and then 1, 2, 3 Stonehorn Beast Riders and a Thundertusk Beast Riders. Incredible stuff. I know for a fact that they have all got little hats on them, which is really cute. And Teresa's done an incredible job here. She already played really well at Tough Castle, did really good, and now going 4-1 at this field, she's got to be feeling pumped. And she only lost in the final as well. She only lost game 5, right? She lost game 5. Unbelievable. Barton, oh no, not Barton. Tomling with his Magic and Nurgle. Blobe, Great and Clean One, Morbidex, and Glotkin with 3 units of 10 Plague Bearers. Unless they do something in the Battle Scroll update, I'm going to keep reading that list out. But you do get to hang out with Tom for 3 hours, so that's fun and worth playing against. Probably once. And then Blades of Khorne. This is by Barton. This is crazy. Scarbrand, Realmgore Ritualist, Korgus Kull, a Bloodmaster, a Slaughter Priest in this list as well. Then he's got a Bloodsecrator in addition. And then a unit of Scions of the Flame, which is a Warcry warband. A unit of 20 Blood Warriors. A unit of Claws of Karnak, reinforced, which is a pre-game move unit. A unit of Fleshhounds. A unit of Furies. And then the Rathax Bleeding Icon and Hex Gorgeous Skulls. And I honestly don't know how this works. That's what I'll say. It's a bunch of nonsense. Scarbrand is in there, so obviously just a lot of other stuff, and then Scarbrand does all of his work. Okay, but a lot of other stuff. And there's also 20 Blood Warriors, so there's a good like flank and spank kind of situation going on here. But other than that, crazy stuff. Then Skaven, and this is Andy Trendelli, and he is running Warlock Bombardier, Arch Warlock, 9 Storm Fiends, and then 6 Storm Fiends. What's better than 9 Storm Fiends? 15 Storm Fiends. Unit of Clan Rats. Okay, and a Warp Grinder. Just absolutely blowing the competition away. Then our Gloomspike Gits list is Glogs Mega Mob, Trug, Scragrot, Dankhold, Fungoid, Web Spinner, Fellwater, Rotgut Troggoths, a unit of 6, a unit of Moonclan Stabbers, a Gobblepalooza in here as well, some sneaky snufflers. Trug in there as well, Scragrot the Loon King. Just a Glogs Mega Mob. Loads of trolls with all of the buff pieces. Scragrot doing mortal wounds at range. Dankhold just getting battle tactics and grand strats. Fungoid Cave Shaman reducing the armor save and doing Blizzard. A Web Spinner with a Teleport Wizard if you want. Teleport Blizzard, obviously after the priority roll. Rotguts for smashing face. Fellwarts for reducing saves. Stabbers for holding objectives. Gobblepalooza for buffing, which is cool. And then finally, Slaves to Darkness Kabbalist list with a Chaos Sorcerer Lord, 2 of them, a Slaves to Darkness Demon Prince with the command trait Not to be Denied, and also the Conqueror's Crown, which I love. A unit of 10 Chaos Knights with the Mark of Nurgle, so you're pinning the opponent in. A unit of 2 units of Chaos Warriors with the Mark of Nurgle for holding objectives. A unit of Corvus Cabal for deep striking and getting a bat attack. And then a Mutilith Vortex Beast, and then 6 Varangard for just, with Mark of Khorne for just smashing everyone to pieces, which is cool. Looks like an amazing event to boys. Love to go one year. Hope everyone had a great time. Our next event is the Renegade Open 2023, organised by Travis Winter and the Renegade Wargaming crew. And it had 48 players playing in the heartland of the United States in Minneapolis. And in our 5-0 bracket, we've only got one person, Isaiah Ramczyk of the Wisco Kings with his Sylvaneth Heartwood army. And this is Heartwood, so you get like +1 to wound against a certain amount of units. You got Alariel the Everqueen, an Arch Revenant with the Warsinger command trait, so making units move a bit faster. And then Colonel Hunters with Great Bows, a unit of 6 and a unit of 3, and a unit of Tree Revenants and the Vengeful Skullroot. And then finally a unit of Gossamer Archers. So you're able to use Alariel to summon an additional unit of 3 Colonel Hunters with Great Bows, taking you up to 12 Colonel Hunters with Great Bows. Then Alariel, thanks to the Warsinger, has got like an 18-inch threat range. Moves forward, charges, and then obviously strikes and fade and brings us back to the back. Gossamer Archers are going to move up the board. They're going to screen, and then they're going to shoot. And then when you try to charge forward, they're going to stand and shoot and move backwards. And then they're going to repeat the process again and again. Very cool list, very fun. Very tough to deal with, very difficult to manage, doesn't play like a lot of like the mid-board fight armies, and is just very, very good. Looking at the 4-1s, and this event is so off-meta, it's like in another world. It's crazy. So we have got, in the 4-1 bracket, Jason Keeley with his Lumineth Realm Lords, Matt Casper with his Gloomspike Gits, Patrick Otilino with his Stormcast Eternals, Corey Anderson with Slaves to Darkness, Daniel Dow with Cities of Sigmar Hallowheart, Paul Wilms with Nighthaunt the Emerald Host, Nathan Vosper with his Stormcast Eternals Hallowed Knights, Chris Prose with his Gloomspike Gits, all in the 4-1. Now, let's start going through these, shall we? Our Helon list is pretty normal. Sinari Cathalar, a Wind Mage, Severith, and two Wind Spirits, which we do not see very much anymore, which is very, very cool. Fun to see those in there. 2 units of Wind Chargers, a unit of Wardens, and then 40 Sentinels. So, 40 Sentinels still doing the job that they do, which is a lot of mortal wounds at range, but the Wind Spirits bopping around and doing a bunch of shooting and moving. Very cool. Very cool. Haven't seen that in a while. Love that. Then, our Gloomspike Gits list is King's Gits with a Dankhold Trogboss, Scragrot, and a Madcap Shaman, and then 2 units of 20 Shooters, 2 units of 6 Rot Guts, and then 2 units of 5 Boingrot Bounders, and 10 Loon Smasher Fanatics. So the classic shooters holding objectives, Rot Guts countercharging, Boingrots, even units of 5 Boingrots doing great stuff, and then the Dankhold and Scragros, Dankhold just scoring battle tactics and grand strats, and Scragrot just being amazing as a support piece in here as well. So just very solid. I love seeing the uniformity in those lists as well. Then the Stormcast list is nuts. Ionis Cryptborn in his first outing, a Knight Incanter, 2 units of 2 units of 2 Stormdrake Guard, 3 units of 2 Stormdrake Guard, and then 2 units of Vanguard Raptors with long strike crossbows. So very old school. Your classic kind of like Stormcast list in many ways. However, with the introduction of the Knight Incanter, of Ionis as the introduction, and he obviously is going to be really good at stopping healing from the enemy units, which I think is very, very good. Then, our Slaves to Darkness list has got Be'lakor, a Chaos Sorcerer Lord, and Eternus, which you never see. Then 10 Chosen with Sinesh, 20 Warriors with Nurgle, which are a great, like, kind of hammer piece, an anvil, sorry. They're an anvil. And then we've got 6 Ogroid Therodons that are going to countercharge with the Mark of Khorne, and then 9 Corvus Cabal for grabbing an objective, and 2 units of 6 Furries. I know they're called Furies, I'm just saying Furries to annoy you in the YouTube comments. So, the Chaos Warriors are going to hold the center ground, and then you're going to get countercharged by 10 Chaos Chosen or 6 Ogroid Therodons, which is crazy. Amazing stuff. Love to see that. Then our Cities of Sigmar Hallowheart list is the first time I get to read this out, which is very fun. But this is new Cities of Sigmar. Battle Mage on Celestial Hurricanum, Pontifex in Estra, Free Guild General on Griffin, 2 Alchemite Warforgers, and then 2 units of 10 Free Guild Steel Helms, 20 Fusiliers, 10 Fusiliers, and then 2 Free Guild Command Corps. Don't forget, the Cities FAQ did not nerf the Free Guild Command Corps' healing ability, and they're also not unique units. So you're going to be able to steal 2 command abilities off your opponent every turn. You're going to be able to return 63 worth of wounds, either into your like infantry units, or into your characters, so your Battle Mage on Celestial Hurricanum or your Free Girl Marshal on Griffin, you can heal up to 18 wounds to one of those models, which is nuts. The Free Girl General on Griffin's got a great combat potential. Ren 3, damage 4. Alchemite Warforgers giving everyone that's a human +1 save. You're getting mortals on 6s to hit from everyone in range, which is good. Okay. Very good. Very cool. Very cool to see a Hollow Heart list out there. How are cities performing overall? This is the first time we've seen new cities in the lists. So cities haven't had any other features so far. And that's mainly because people have been waiting for the FAQ to come out and for them to be, quote-unquote, tournament legal. So even though they've been out for a long time, they haven't been officially out. Looking at our Nighthawk list in the Emerald Host, we've got Alrak the Drowner, Dreadblade Harrow, two Spirit Torments, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units of 10 Chain Rasps, 3 units of Grimgas Reapers, and then another unit of Chain Gas and the Blade Guys for Evidence as well. So this is just a multiple small unit army doing a ton of charges, which are going to debuff the enemy army. And then you go in with the Grimgas to do a ton of damage. Alrak's also great in combat as well. Very weird. Then our Stormcast Eternals list is a Stormkeep with Gardas, giving a 5-up ward aura to everyone around him. A Lord Celestant on Dracoth. Ionis is in the list as well. A Lord Relictor, a Knight Judicator with Gryph-hounds, and a Knight Arcanum. And then 3 units of Vindicators, and 2 units of Gryph-hounds, and the Quest of Soulsworn. And I honestly have no idea what this is doing. Doesn't seem to do any damage. Like, I don't know what this list is doing at all, so I'm just going to move on. But great work. That's amazing. Going 4-1. And finally, Gloomspite Gits with a Dankhold Trogboss. In Trug's Trog Herd, so Trug is in there as well. And then 2 Dankhold Troggoths, 2 units of Fell Waters, and 2 Rockgut units. Smashing it out. What an amazing event. What a wild meta at the Renegade Open. Hope everyone had a great time. Our next event is organised by one of the greatest people in all the world, Jared Coots. Coots, can we get some love for him? This is the Lost Legion Gaming Club and their GT over in Australia. And he's got 39 players playing at this event. Nathan Thompson also helping run the event here. Shout out. I've actually got some pictures. It was being held at the Esplanade Leisure and Recreation Facility, which is an excellent little venue if you've never been. I love it there. The floors are particularly shiny if you've never been. It's great. It's heard that every time someone would move, you would hear that. Which is wonderful. The terrain looks amazing. Oh my god, look at the terrain. Wait, that looks like the stuff from... Oh my god, the KO stuff looks fantastic. Excellent work, Coots. All right, really good. So yeah, that's the venue. Looks really cool. And Coots gave everyone who won a kiss. That's so sweet. That's lovely. Right, so the event was won by, in our 5-0 bracket to focus, Nathan Thompson of the Lost Legion Geelong Club. Shout out to him with his Kharadron Overlords, Barek Urbaz army. He was running an Admiral with the X-Grunstrok command trait, which means that Thunderers become battle line. Then 2 units of Arcanaut Company and a Gun Hauler. And then 15 Grunstrok Thunderers in an Ironclad and 1 unit of Engine Riggers. So this is the old scoot and shoot, teleport, shoot, 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 get in, get out, shoot again, scoot about, do a shoot, do more shooting, get out, Aether Chemist buff, do a bit more shooting, charge me, I'll shoot you, sir, shoot, shoot, scoot a boot, 5-0. Amazing stuff. There's a little bit more tech to it than that. I don't want to overload you with technical information, but that's roughly how it works. It's a scoot and shoot, poot and toot. Looking at the 4-1 bracket, we've got some legends. Laszlo Nedonorovsky with his Magikin and Nurgle, Lachlan McKenzie with his Sons of Behemoth, Kieran Coates, and what is Kieran running? Kieran is running Skaven. Yes, Kieran is running Skaven, which is cool. And then Aaron Best with his Stormcast Eternals, Knights Excelsior list. And if we could just get a shout out for Aaron in the comments, like his buddy over in England, he's only 16 years old and he only dropped a single game. Love to see the new generation playing through. which is cool. And then Will Knight of Model Citizens with his KO Barrack Zon list. Right, let's look through the list, shall we? Our no-gun list is a Befouling Host with Orgots, Blobe, Sloppity Barpiper, and the Glotkin, and a Poxbringer. Then some Plague Bearers and some Beasts of Nurgle. It's pretty much what I said to you previously about how the list works, but instead you have a Sloppity Barpiper already on the board, and then you charge some Beasts of Nurgles in and out, in and out, in and out. Our Sons of Behemoth list is a King Broad Stomp, which is a 40 wound Mega Gargant with a 5-up ward save. Absolutely genius. Gatebreaker, a Gatebreaker, and a Kraken Eater. And they run forward and they stand on circles, which is very cool. Congratulations. Our Skaven list is a Verminlord Warbringer, a Screech Vermin King, a Grey Seer, twice, and then 2 Plague Priests. And then it's 2 units of 20 Clan Rats, and then 2 units of 10 Plague Sensor Bearers running around and just doing a ton of damage in this list, which is very cool. Then our Stormcast Eternals list is a Knight Judicator with Gryph-hounds, twice, Knight Arcanum, a Lord Imperator, and then 4 units of Annihilators with shields, and 3 units of Annihilators with Grandhammers, and a unit of Vindicators as well. And the Everblaze Comet. Oh my god. This is such a great list. It's great. Comet does mortal wounds. Everyone drops down, does mortal wounds. Knight Educators do mortal wounds. They do shooting at range. Knight Arcanum has got Merciless Blizzard. Just great. Great. Great list. And then finally, because Scoot and Shoot did so well, we do have a Scoot, Get Out and Boot list. Our final KO list is Brock Grungson, an Arcanaut Admiral, Etheric Navigator, 3 units of 10 Arcanauts, 6 Endrin Riggers, 3 Endrin Riggers, and 3 Arcanaut Frigates. Charge, get everyone out, do a ton of fighting, fly over units, shoot and scoot, but also put in the boot. Absolutely fantastic. Australia's an incredible meta. The place is great. Coots is wonderful. And if you do get a chance to play in Australia, I think it's one of the most vibrant communities. It's so good. Like, really, really good. Same as, like, Sweden. They're just really good, healthy communities to play in. Hope everyone had a great time. Our next event is in Germany. And the event is called... Pour one out for Rob in the chat, please, or in the comments. The event was called... Schennenragleflen. To Tage Turenne. Turnier. That's not right. That's definitely got that wrong. It was organised by Andreas Holtlum. And it had 12 players playing in Germany. So our winning player, or the person in our 4-1 bracket, is Ulf Thiel, running a Sylvaneth Gnarl Root list. He has a Warsong Revenant, a Branch Witch, a Tree Lord Ancient, 10 Dryads, 2 5 Tree Revenants, and a Kurnoth Hunters with Great Swords, and then 3 Revenant Seekers, and a Tree Lord with a Spite Swarm Hive. So this is kind of your more classic Sylvaneth list, where you'll do some teleporting with your major threats, like the Kurnoth Hunters with Great Swords, and then your Tree Lord is going to stomp on units to make them fight last, and you're going to do a bunch of spells out of the Warsong Revenant. We can't also forget to shout out our 4-1 Andreas Hulter with his Seraphon Fangs of Sotek list, and he was running a Slan Star Master, Croak, Ashloth Bannerbearer, Skink Starseer, 10 Skinks, 5 Saurus Guard, 5 Saurus Guard, Ravnak Session Jaws, Aether Void Pendulum, and Malevolent Maelstrom, but he had Gotrek Gurnison in his list as well. So it's a Croak Bomb with Gotrek. Croak with a missile. Which is pretty fun. Like, just like, you know, I know this is a stat show, but like, just imagine that, like, you know, narratively. There's a wizard on a chair, literally just dropping meteors on people's heads. People are screaming left, right, and centre. And then, running at you is a half-naked ginger dwarf, just 2-arm pumping with an axe held high, ready to murder everyone. Amazing scenes. Amazing scenes. Very German. I hope everyone had a great time at the event. Our next event is the Ragnarok Rumble, sponsored by the NIF, the 9-inch Flails, 9-inch Fails Wargaming Club, organised also by Dom, just such a sweet human being. Anyway, so we had 11 players playing at this event, and the event was won by one of my sons, Phil Sprignall, of the 9-inch Fails, running his Fireslayer's Greyfeared army. Let's go through what's in the list. He's got an Auric Rune Master, an Auric Rune Father, and a Battlesmith. Then he's got 2 Grimhold Exiles, and then he has the allies, Eleanor and Elathor, the Eclipsean War Sages from the Lumineth Realm Lords, 5 Auric Hearthguard, and then 2 lots of 10 Volkite Berserkers. He then has 2 Grimwrath Berserkers and 5 Doomseekers, one of which has got the Draft of Magma Ale. And then the Eighth of the Void Pendulum and the Molten Infernoth. And I know you're asking yourself what the hell is going on here. And this is the absolute crazy cooked up. This is some trick shot stuff being played. This is a bunch of players that have been playing a lot now, and they're starting to flex. Elena Elithor have a line attack. They have a shooting attack that's like a line amount of damage. For every 1 damage the Doomseeker has taken, up to 2, they can add +1 damage to their attack profile. So you have 6 attacks that are damage 3 from each one of the 5 Doomseekers. There's also ways to increase the amount of output that you get from the Grimhold Exile as well. And Phil, currently in the chat, told me that in one round, one Exile did 20 mortal wounds to a Gatebreaker. So this is just a way of stacking a ton of damage on very small units and making them all delete stuff in a crazy, crazy setup. Requires lots of play, lots of setup to do. Phil's an exceptional player. Really good player. Just very good. And so has done really well there to create a crazy list. And then in second place in a 4-1 is a wonderful person, Christoph, with his Blades of Khorne, Reapers of Vengeance. Well done to Christoph. I played him recently. He's so great. With his Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster, a Bloodthirster and Sense of Rage, Scarbrand, a Bloodmaster, a Slaughter Priest, and Be'lakor. A unit of Blood Reavers, a unit of Fleshhounds, and then a unit of Ogroid Therodons. When I played Christoph, I deleted everything in his army apart from 1 Bloodthirster on the first turn. He somehow still managed to achieve 5 battle tactics and end the game with models on the board. So he's a great player and has done really well there. Well done to him. On the 4-1. That's it for the stats this week. That is it. And, okay, there's been some really interesting stuff. No OBR. 0 OBR. And then more Seraphon. Maybe a little bit late on that prediction, but maybe something we're going to see more and more. Oh, actually, hold on. I almost forgot. I apologize. Got one more little event. Normally we don't cover events that only have 4 rounds, but I'm going to do this because it's the start of a new tournament scene in Portugal, which is really sweet. And over in Portugal, they held their first big event, which was cool. So you can see it here, organized by Pedro, and it was called Batalha de Corvos, which is super fun. Now, they've got a smaller community over there, and so building up this event, very much like where we've seen events in the Philippines and everything else. There are only 12 players at this event, and they only played 4 rounds. But they used chess clocks, they convinced a bunch of the old players to play that hadn't played Age of Sigmar before, and they all got involved, which is awesome. Love to see that. So shout out to Pedro for organising the event. And in first place, I'm going to shout him out, is Nuno Neves with his Soulblight Gravelords list. He was running a Necromancer, well, 2 of them in fact, Belladama Volga, Gorslav the Gravekeeper, Torgillus, a bunch of zombies, a unit of 60 and 2 units of 20, some direwolves, and 2 units of 20 Graveguard. So your classic zombies on objectives, exploding, doing mortals, Graveguard coming in and doing all the damage, and then that recursion that you see from Soulblight Gravelords. But the important part about this is that there was an event that was run in Portugal, and again, love seeing those communities starting to grow and prosper, like we've seen in the Philippines, like we've seen just all over China. We saw some events in China as well, which is cool. So more events in more locations is excellent to see. Okay, kind of meta wrap up now and think about what we've been seeing so far. Nurgle, obviously, feels like it's a big takeaway. Nurgle are going to be something you see on a lot of tables over the next few weeks. Specifically also, and because those armies are painted. We're already seeing them in the list, which means they're ready and they're off to go. Seraphon as well. Maybe we've been waiting on a production meta and we're waiting to see more and more Seraphon armies play, but I'd expect to see Seraphon in there as well, especially if Bone Reapers keep getting dropped down in the game. First, Hallowheart, which was fun. More Stormcast. It seems those battle tactics have really helped Stormcast feature on the top tables, even if they're not racing through events. They are doing very, very well, which has been very cool to see. We've seen some cheeky Ideneth wins in ways we weren't expecting. Alapec spam, obviously really good, but we've also seen other build variations as well, which I think is quite interesting. Skaven, obviously, they have this new build, which is probably something that needs to be addressed, in my opinion. But if it's not, then Skaven definitely could see more play on those top tables. And Plague Sensor Bearers have been doing incredibly well. And even if you were to remove maybe what's happening with the Greyseers on Screaming Bells, you would still see those Plague Sensor Bearers doing some really good stuff in addition. I'm just trying to think through. What else have we seen? Fire Slayer's doing some funny stuff. I loved that. There were some really off-meta lists all across the board, which is fun as well. We've started to see a lot of those armies of renown come into play. King Brods is obviously always going to be something good. Trug's Trogherd as well. Oh, we've seen Ionis feature in a few lists. So Ionis as well, which has been fun. There's been some standout performances, of course, from Shalaxi doing really well, which has been fun. I think probably the big takeaway also from this weekend is, again, the community have been having conversations about chess clocks. I'll just put my 10 cents in here because it's really easy. When you sign up to an event, you pay some money and you buy 5 halves of 5 games. You sign up for 5 games, you get half of 5 games. Best way to keep track of how much time you've used in a game is to use a clock. Seems very simple and very easy. They're not scary and they're not worrying. And so you could use them if you can. So I hope you've enjoyed today's show. And if you enjoyed the Stat Show and you want to help support the Stat Centre, then you can obviously support us on Patreon. Leave comments, like, and subscribe. That would be cool.